From a wall of water in Utah that smashed through this family's basement, and a desert road that looked more like a river after this surprise flood passed through, to a freak mud avalanche in Colombia that wiped out this village in the blink of an eye, and the unbelievable moment a cluster of abandoned ships smashed into a concrete bridge. Here are some of the most horrific monster flash floods caught on camera. Typhoon Gaimi was a powerful tropical cyclone that brought widespread flooding and destruction to eastern China, Taiwan, and the Philippines, where it was also known as Super Typhoon Karina. Karina was the third named storm of the 2024 typhoon season. It formed east of Palau on July 19th and slammed into the Philippines 3 days later. In its wake, water on the Marikina River in Manila rose significantly, leading to this wild scene outside a high-rise building. According to the Department of Social Welfare in the Philippines, the typhoon displaced over 273,000 people and impacted 3.6 million across 11 regions. Elsewhere in Manila, an oil tanker, the MT Terra Nova, capsized and sank in over 100 feet of water. It was carrying 1.5 million liters of industrial fuel, leading to an oil spill nearly 2.5 miles long. Orem, Utah is a small city in the Midwestern U.S., about 45 miles south of Salt Lake City. It's home to about 100,000 people, including one family who can't seem to keep water out of their finished basement. In mid-August of 2024, intense rainstorms moved over the city and greater Utah County. They dumped about 3/4 of an inch of water in the area, which is a lot when it all falls at once. During the storm, a family watched and recorded as their driveway turned into a river. Then, one of them thought to check the basement, at which point the floodgates opened.
Walk it into there.
Oh no.
So bad.
Oh, no. I gotta get all these plugs out.
Go.
Is it bullshit?
It's gonna break.
What do we do?
Everybody just move. Get back. Video.
Ozzy, come. Ozzy, come. McKay, come here! McKay, come here!
The worst part is that the family had just redone their basement due to flooding about a month prior. Everything you see, such as the walls, floors, and carpets, was brand new. According to our camera woman, her husband was outside trying desperately to bail water and hail away from the basement window. He realized it was a losing battle and ran inside to warn the rest of his family. He's the one you hear saying it's gonna break. It's unclear how much damage the water caused and if this family's insurance company was willing to cover it. In the meantime, they set up a GoFundMe, hoping to raise some cash to rebuild the basement again. Now, when most people think of Utah, they picture vast deserts, red rocks, and dry ground. Flash floods are usually the last thing on their mind, but they still happen and typically pack a punch when they do. Locals living near Zion National Park learned that lesson the hard way when heavy storms dropped over 1/2 inch of rain on the desolate area. It was September 14th of 2015. A local man and his friends had been chasing an offshoot of the flood all day as it snaked down a dry riverbed. They took position at a crossing and filmed as the water quickly overburdened the drainage system. Watch how quickly the flood turns this dry Utah road into a raging river.
Oh, it's gonna get so overwhelmed. Here it comes.
Oh yeah. It's high too.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like up this.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. Here we go. Get ready, people.
Hold your positions.
Hold your positions. Whoa, look at that. That is crazy.
It's like a moving beaver dam.
Oh my god.
Whoa. Look at that. Wow. Now you're done. You're done. Oh my gosh, it's gonna start taking out these trees. It is big, big, big. Wow.
While these folks could appreciate the flood from a safe distance, others weren't so lucky. The water ultimately claimed over 20 lives. According to reports, many of them had sought shelter in 2 vans as they waited for the flood to stop. Sadly, the raw power swept those vans downriver. Meanwhile, a hiking group was overtaken by the flood in Zion National Park. In the end, the 2015 flash flood went down as the worst natural disaster in Utah's history. Montebello, Colombia is a large municipality in the Antioquia department, about 28 miles southwest of Medellin. It's a mountainous region, with most of the area sitting about 7,700 feet above sea level. When heavy rains pass through, they only have one way to go. On May 4th of 2024, locals in the village of Zarcitos ran for the hills when they spotted an avalanche of mud and water coming down the mountain. They watched helplessly from the high ground as the deluge destroyed their homes in seconds. Local sources say rising water levels on 2 streams caused them to overflow, converge, and eviscerate this village. The water swept 5 homes clean off their foundations and left 2 people injured but in stable condition. The area had just seen several days of relentless rain. Then, just when they were drying up, the floodwaters unleashed. Emergency crews rushed to the area to provide aid to those in need. Meanwhile, the local government began looking for housing options for those who lost everything. Hopefully, they relocated somewhere less flood-prone. Guilin, China, is a prefecture-level city in the Guangxi-Zhuang Autonomous Region. It sits on the banks of the Li River and is home to about 4.9 million people. And while everyone in the city appreciates the river and the scenic views, they know how quickly the Li can turn on them. In mid-June of 2024, Guilin City was plagued with rare amounts of heavy rainfall. While the locals were used to the typical rainy season between April and September, they had never seen anything like this. Levels on the Li rose rapidly and eventually spilled into the streets, leading to some of China's worst flooding in 30 years. The flooding was so bad that it shut down the Guilin railway station. Railway authorities suspended travel in and out of the city for safety, meaning everyone was trapped inside. Imagine being stuck in water up to your chest. Watch how these folks desperately hold what little they have left above their heads. Their only hope is that a boat comes by and picks them up. Unfortunately, speedboats and rescue workers could only save so many people. The flood claimed at least 55 lives and forced thousands of people to evacuate. According to a Chinese news agency, the government earmarked 346 million yuan, or roughly $48.6 million, for disaster relief in Guilin and other affected areas. Donghing Lake is the second largest freshwater lake in China. It's located near Yuyang City in Hunan Province and serves as a flood basin of the Yangtze River, meaning its total volume changes depending on the season. The volume swelled in early July of 2024 as relentless rainstorms battered parts of Hunan Province. That's when locals began noticing cracks forming on one of the dams. Those cracks turned into a 10-meter breach, which quickly ballooned into a 740-foot hole in the wall. Desperate to stop the water, workers began pushing their semi-trucks in to plug the gap. It was a valiant effort, but those trucks would never stop the flowing water. Authorities swiftly evacuated 5,000 people from the villages and communities near the breach. Local authorities claim everybody was accounted for and nobody got hurt during the flood. Over 2,000 workers gathered the following day to try plugging the breach with boulders, barriers, and dirt. It took them all weekend, but they finally stopped the flow. The main breach was sealed by Monday night, and the secondary defenses were ready for testing. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. The breach flooded over 18 square miles of land, including multiple towns near the lake. Armley is a small district outside of Leeds in West Yorkshire, England. It's home to about 25,000 people who all lived through one of the worst storms the area had ever seen. Over 6 days in late February of 2022, storms Dudley, Eunice, and Franklin brought 75-mile-per-hour winds to the area. With them came a month's worth of rain and snowfall. All that water quickly overwhelmed the River Aire, where 2 locals recorded the flood. They watched as pontoons broke from their ports and raced downriver, crashing into anything in sight.
Hell. I got that on video. There's another one. Jesus Christ.
It's gone.
Ironically, those pontoons were carrying flood defense equipment when they broke loose and floated away. Somewhere upstream from this video, several heavy machines had fallen off and were now stuck in the water. Allegedly, water on the River Aire was traveling upwards of 40 miles per hour. Imagine how much damage a rogue pontoon can do at those speeds. The Hunter River is a major waterway in New South Wales, Australia. It rises in the Liverpool Range and flows for 190 miles southeast until it reaches the Tasman Sea in Newcastle. Throughout its history, the Hunter River has been the scene of substantial flooding in New South Wales. It was so bad that the local government commissioned the Glenbond Dam in 1947. Things improved 10 years later upon the dam's completion, but that doesn't mean the Hunter couldn't flood again. Fast forward to January of 2016, when a local photographer found himself in the right place at the right time. It's unclear what caused this flood on the Hunter. Assuming it happened in January of 2016, it would coincide with a low-pressure system that brought torrential rain to parts of New South Wales between the 5th and 6th. According to reports, the Hunter Valley and Newcastle were among the worst affected areas. Shaoguan, China is a prefecture-level city of about 1 million people in northern Guangdong province. Like the rest of China, they're no stranger to heavy rain and frequent flash flooding. When the warnings flare, the locals take them very seriously. On March 21st of 2016, flood warnings in Shaoguan alerted people to rising water levels on the Zhenjiang and Wujiang rivers. Workers aboard 2 floating barges moored upstream quickly evacuated before their vessels were swept away. And it's good that they did, as their boats were on a collision course with a concrete bridge. Police ultimately shut down the bridge over safety concerns. It was unclear how much damage the barges caused when they crashed into the side. Even a tiny crack could turn into a catastrophe. The Teesta River is a 257-mile waterway in northern India. It rises in the eastern Himalayas and snakes through several towns and villages before merging with the Brahmaputra River in Bangladesh. Several days of torrential rain caused the Tista to swell and overflow on October 4th of 2023. Erosion caused multiple landslides, which only led to more water displacement. The flood wreaked havoc on the town of Chungtang, where water entered the residential area, leading to widespread damage and mass evacuations. On the ground, members of the Indian Army helped rescue a man trapped under a crumbled building. Even worse, a tree had collapsed and smashed through the power lines.
इतने बड़े मलबे में एक भारत तिब्बत सीमा पुलिस बल के जवानों द्वारा एक जीवित व्यक्ति को बाहर निकाला जा रहा है। अभी बिल्कुल जीवित है। तिब्बत सीमा पुलिस द्वारा रेस्क्यू टीम द्वारा रेस्क्यू किया गया और इसमें से जीवित व्यक्ति को निकाला गया और उसको उस पे जेसीबी पे रख करके।
From what we can gather, the flooding began after heavy rain caused a glacial lake to breach its banks. The outburst flood raced toward a dam on the Tista, which couldn't open its doors in time to mitigate the water coming through. The dam failed within minutes, leading to catastrophic flooding downstream. In some areas, water on the Tista rose between 15 and 20 feet. If you enjoyed this video and want to see another just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.